What is up, everybody? Welcome back. We are talking dynasty trades. We're looking at a first week breakdown of some trade values that have gone up, some gone down. We're going to go look at real dynasty trades out there and a little bit of analysis of what you should be doing with these assets. So, we're going to be talking about 5 guys that definitely shot up the boards when we're talking about value and just kind of going over, hey, what do we expect from these guys looking forward? What are some deals out there being made, right? Like, hey, when you're seeing these guys go, what can we expect them to be worth out there in your dynasty league? So, let's start with Isaiah Likely. Man, what can you say about this kid? I love Dynasty. Actually, I had a tweet out there. I said, man, isn't it a funny game when we talk about Dynasty? Because, before this, look how fast his value rose off of one game, right? He's already at a tight end 7 on Keep Trade Cut. And people could shit on Keep Trade Cut as you want, as much as you want. But in reality, it does give a good basis for like how shifting values do happen. Like, do I think people really truly value him at tight end 7? Probably not, but some do. I mean, you saw analysts kind of talk about him being in there in that range. So, he had a great week. Obviously, tight end 1 for a really bad tight end week. I think that's one of the other things that hyped up his value so much is like the tight ends across the board were ugly. Like when you're watching kind of how they finished, if you draft a top 5 tight end from based on ADP, you had a rough week because those guys just did not perform well. He had 9 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. So yeah, he was tight end 1. Now, when we're thinking of like what his value is, right? So going over his trade value, when you think of like, okay, why is his value going so high? One, he had a 29% target share, right? 9 of 12 targets looked really good. Obviously, almost had another touchdown right there at the end, just a little inch too much. He was targeted 3 times in the red zone. So when you think of that, like, hey, is he their go-to guy down there? What the hell is going on with Mark Andrews? Why is Mark Andrews not getting that? And in the yards after the catch, since I do Devy, I talked about Likely. I have an article about Likely 3 years ago. I loved him at Coastal Carolina. I thought he was a fantastic wide receiver turn tight end over there. And it was one of those things like I just saw potential in him. He always had that yak ability. He always had that. Now, I think that, Andrews is coming back. So, will he have that target share? And then when I say coming back, I don't even mean like he's injured. I think he's going to bounce back. I think there's going to be manufactured touches there. But I like their schedules, right? When you think about kind of who they're playing. So moving forward, what is he getting valued at? Is he truly getting valued at that tight end 7 mark? I don't know. If you look at some of these deals here, Isaiah Likely for Jake Ferguson in a second. These are all deals that happened on Tuesday when I recorded this video, kind of going over. I want to get the most recent trades for you guys, 12-team Superflex, to give you the most appropriate values. I thought another one was interesting, Likely and Tank Dell for Puka. Puka Nacua might be out for an extended amount of time. I know he's on the IR. Getting Tank Dell and Likely, I mean, if you feel like buying Puka, if you're a non-contending team and you're like, hey, I have Isaiah and I have Tank Dell sitting here and I want Puka moving forward, I think that's an interesting deal, right? He's going for a first in most leagues. Down here at the bottom, you'll see some other deals, Devontae and Likely for Dalton Kincaid. So you're buying low on like, Dalton Kincaid. That tight end target room and wide receiver of Bills, I wrote about on our Substack. There's a lot of question marks going on there. And like maybe you're sitting here saying, hey, I have Adams and Likely. I'm just going to go get Kincaid because I expect him to break out, be that guy, right? I expect Likely kind of go back to the median. But a lot of deals out there. You can get a first for him right now. You could package him and get some other guys. But I like this deal, the Trey Tucker, A.T. Perry, 4th and 3rd. That's ridiculous. Like if you can get that for Likely, I would do that all day. I do think those first few deals are where he's kind of getting valued out. Likely a 3rd and a 2nd for Sam Darnold and Kittle. Yeah, I could see that. For Puka Nacua, yeah, I can see that if you add another asset there. So I think these are interesting areas. Now, as far as I'm concerned, what am I doing in the leagues with him? I have Isaiah Likely a lot because I have him. I'm holding. I'm not going to sell him for a lot of these prices. I'm going to hold and just see where he goes because, Mark Andrews is getting a little older. I do think that this system, a Todd Monken system, is a 2 tight end system. I think that 12 personnel is going to be one of those things. I think he's going to get targets, and I do like him moving forward. Now, next guy we're going to talk about, our guy Jaden Reed. And I say our guy, but that's a fraud. He was never my guy. But he looked really good that first week. 4 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver 1, right, when you're thinking of him, was massive. 4 of 6 targets, had a 57 yards after the catch that we really like, had that 33-yard touchdown that, hey, people really popped off. He had versatility, right? So I think that, seeing that he had over 100 air yards, we like that. He ran around almost on 75% of their dropbacks. We like that as well. So, man, love that, right? So when you're thinking of this, now how sustainable is that? I think that with the production you like to see, with Love being out, I think that's the biggest question mark, moving forward. If Malik Willis is throwing the ball, I think that provides an interesting window for Reed, right? If you believe in his talent, you think wide receiver 1 with Love is where he should be valued at. when you're looking at his trade value, he's still at wide receiver 30, right? So if you believe in him, like, and you think moving forward with Love, he's going to be the best option, look at that first couple deals. Jaden Reed for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Jackson Smith-Njigba just has not produced. Now, whether that's going to happen, I think it will. I think that Seattle offense is going to be there. But we can say, I think it will, right? We keep saying that, but it just hasn't panned out. So if you believe in Jaden Reed and you think that talent, I still think there's a buy window there, right? Because of the injury and everything that's going on. Another one that I thought was interesting, Dobbins and Reed for a Chan. I would take Devon Chan in a heartbeat there because I think that he could be, with those goal line touches we saw, with those receptions that we saw, he could be a top 5 running back in that category there. Other ones, Reed for Chubb, Ferguson in a third. I like the Reed side there. I really do. A third and Chubb is nothing to me at this point. Fergie's hurt. I like Reed. I think that even though, the calculator is going to say the other side, that's where that buy low potential is. And I even like this deal. It happened twice so far. Jaden Reed for T. Higgins, I think, is fair. I think T. Higgins is overvalued as a dynasty asset, and he continues to be overvalued as a dynasty asset. The greatest asset for a wide receiver or even a fantasy player is availability. We haven't seen that for T. Higgins, and that's a problem, right? And I think that for moving forward, if you believe in Jaden Reed, you love him in his offense, and he is getting those manufactured touches, Reed might be the best option here. I still think there's a buy window there for him. And I still think if he's getting priced at wide receiver 30 to 25 in that range, probably a value just based on his usage and volume and the targets that we saw. Now, let's talk about another guy that I'm super excited for, Jameson Williams. I believed in you, Jameson. So I'm happy that he had a good game. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's hit, he's smashed, he's earned that, but you love that he got his value up. Now he's up at wide receiver 37, so he has improved that. You see that there. 5 of 9 targets, for him, 121 yards and a touchdown. He definitely looked good, especially with Amon-Ra and Laporta and all those guys there, Gibbs getting those touches there. We finally see that breakout, right? He had, when you're thinking of it, career high for yards, 121, previous high was 69. I think he's earning consistent touches. And I do think this hurts Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. Because if Jameson's going to earn those touches and we're thinking about that offensive system, that coordinator, what he does well, Johnson there, he's going to get Jameson Williams the ball. So, moving forward, I actually still think he's a value. Our wide receiver 37, when you look at some of these deals that have happened, I do think I'm going to buy him for some of these deals. Now, I think a 25 first is a little bit too risky. We've seen one game. I'm not ready to buy him for that first yet, right? Even if it's a late first, I struggle with seeing the upside of that play because I do think a first will net you a better player later, right? If you need to go get a Mike Evans or one of those veteran guys that goes down the stretch where you're going to really try to win it, why would you trade a first right now? I do want to hesitate there. But I like the Jameson Williams in a second for Deebo Samuel. Not in Deebo Samuel as a dynasty asset. Will never be in Deebo Samuel as a dynasty asset. He's too volatile, injury prone. There's a lot of issues there. If I can get Jameson in a second, and then let's say Jameson pans out okay, but I still have that off ramp for a second, I'm okay with that. I'll take that second and I'll flip it or use that in a rookie draft, right? Other ones, Jameson and Isaiah Pacheco for Ridley and Travis Etienne. I lean the Etienne side there a little bit because of running back, but Tank Bigsby look pretty good, right? And if you want to get off the Calvin Ridley train, you might have to tear down a little bit at that running back position to get Jameson Williams. Again, not a bad deal there. I think it's fair, right? Kind of going through some of these other ones. Jameson Williams for Jordan Mason in a second. Jordan Mason looked good. CMC's coming back. He has issues with his Achilles. Obviously wasn't a tear, but that's something that could take a while. So if you need that running back and you get a second, I get it. I love you got the off ramp for the second, but that's pretty good price for Jameson Williams, in my opinion. So I do think there's a buy window for Jameson Williams. It probably was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, everybody throwing dirt on him. But I still think there's an opportunity, right? It just always depends on league dependency. But if you have Jameson and you're like, hey, man, I'd rather go, I need that running back and a second, I'm good with that. That's why I try to show you all the deals here. I've been John Jameson Williams trained. I think that he is a buy moving forward. But it really just depends on what your team build and what that looks like. So if you have any of those, drop in the comments. I'm always here to answer trade questions. That's the reason why I do this. Hey, what do you tell me what you think? What are some Jameson Williams you're thinking about, you're kicking around out there? Now, next guy I want to talk about, Sam Darnold. I mentioned him as, we talked about trades last week and we said, hey, he's one of the most, top 5 traded assets of the month. Reason why is because, when you're looking at it, he looks pretty good, right? 19 for 24, 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. QB 13 overall, which isn't bad. He kind of popped up his value again. Now, the issue is they have the 5th hardest schedule, but they have an easy start week 1, right? But then they're going to get some tough teams. So they got San Francisco, the Texans, Packers, Jets. That's pretty tough, right? And when you're thinking of that, like he gets pressured in those games, and pressure for Sam Darnold is one of those areas where really he struggles with. So if you were looking to possibly get out of the Sam Darnold trade now, here are some things that he's kind of going for. Sam Darnold for Tyjae Spears. Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins for Russell Wilson. So banking on that Russell coming back and getting the third and fourth back. The next deal I saw, JJ and Sam Darnold, Brian Thomas and Justin Herbert, for Michael Penix Jr., Joe Burrow, Trey Benson, and a second. That is a big boy trade. I like that trade there. But if you're looking to just straight up, what could you get for him before these tougher games happen? Jordan Mason's out there. A second is really what he's going out there. A second. Now, however, I like the deal down at the bottom. Darnold in third for a first. If I can get a first in any way for Sam Darnold at this point of his career, you do it, right? If you're a non-contending team, even if you're a contending team, but you have a solid QB 1 and 2, and maybe Darnold's your 3, if you can get that first, I'm happy. Now, I will say his value fluctuates across all leagues. So he's going for a first in one league and a third in another. So really, I think his median, and basically where he's probably getting valued at, is that second round value. I think you can hold off though, because I do think if he stays healthy, he's going to start for the Vikings. And if a contender loses a quarterback mid-season, you're going to get a first, right? So I'm a hold with Darnold unless you can get that first. And I don't mind moving him for that, right? Or if you package him, if you're going to package him there. I don't love the Darnold for Mason deals straight up, because in Superflex, I'm always going to lean quarterback, especially a starting quarterback, and one that can net you possibly a first later on. Now, last guy I want to talk about right now, Saquon Barkley. Shout out you getting back up there as running back 1, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a touchdown as a receiver. He had a huge output, and you have to love that from Jalen Hurts, because it looks like they're going to lean on Barkley now. Maybe the tush push is going away. Maybe Barkley can kind of get those touchdowns. I know when you're looking at DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, all those guys are probably like, what the hell? Why is this guy getting that? But, I mean, if he stays healthy, we know Saquon's a running back 1. And he shows it, right? When you're thinking of that, and that's the thing. The health was always the question mark. But if you're getting 24 attempts in a game, if he's getting some targets and actually even getting red zone targets, you have to love that from a fantasy perspective. And that's what you want to see. Running back 1 finish, you like that from Saquon Barkley. And I think this offense is going to be predicated. Kellen Moore's system is going to really, obviously, the slot, like Devonta Smith's going to be huge. AJ Brown's going to always have his big plays, but I do think Barkley's going to benefit from that. And if they're going to use him in the red zone, hey, man, he's a running back 1. And when you look at the deals right now, he is a perfect guy to go get if you are a contender. I love this deal. Whoever traded Saquon Barkley and a first for Christian McCaffrey, but they got Saquon in the first, I love your side. With Christian McCaffrey's injury, we don't know what that looks like. Saquon can put up similar numbers this year, and you get a first back. Way to Dynasty. That's how you do it. I love getting that value there. Saquon and Nico Collins for Tank Dell and Bijan Robinson. Again, that's an interesting deal. I probably lean Bijan, but man, Nico looks like he is that true alpha wide receiver 1. I think it's a great deal all around. I think that they did a good job. That's pretty fair there. Just depends on what you think of Tank Dell or Nico there. The X1, Saquon and Cup for a first. Again, you're buying Cup on his downward trend. You give him a first. But if Saquon can be that running back 1, that top 3 guy, then you go for it, right? As a contender, you're like, hey, this is the guy that's going to be put over the top. And I do think Saquon, when you look at Joe Mixon, as long as he's healthy, right? And we can't sit here and say he's going to get injured, but Joe Mixon's putting up running back 1 numbers now too, right? And he's older and he's not as good. So if Saquon could sit in there for these next 2 to 3 years, probably 2 years, you're excited about what you're getting back on your dynasty teams. I think he's always going to be valuable, especially if this coaching staff really is going to utilize him in the red zone. That's what you have to like, right? And he's going for a lot of things. You see 2 firsts on that screen there. He's going for Kendra Miller, first, second, and third. So a lot of assets getting thrown in these deals here. Travarius Ward, Javonte, and a first. A lot of assets going here. But to me, man, if I'm a contender, I'm excited to having Saquon because you probably bought the dip. You're probably really excited about his output and what he was able to do out there. Even if you're a middle of pack guy, I still think you hold him because if he shows this consistently, you can probably get pretty good value if you fall out of contention. Obviously, if you're you're in the middle of pack or below and you're like, hey, I just don't see my team competing, then these are some of the deals out there that you can get for them that you kind of extract that value. So that's our dynasty kind of trades for the week. We're going to be doing this every week. And, I want to just say thank you for you guys, joining the Substack, the Patreon. I really appreciate all the support you got down there for us. So, let me know in the comments, what kind of trades you out there, what kind of trades you're looking at in your dynasties, buys, sells, who are some guys that you're looking to go after. I will let you know like what I think about those deals. And as always, jump in our Discord. If you don't feel like paying full price for the Patreon, we do have $1 Discord. Just jump in there, talk. There's trade talks going on in there all the time, and you can get some advice there. So appreciate you guys. I'll check you guys in the next one.